Lawyers make sure that your obligations under the contract are met. So if you're buying or selling a house, the first step is you sign a contract. Typically, you're working with realtors for that. So they have standard forms that they use, and with the help of your realtor, you'll negotiate the terms of the contract and the price and possession date and those kind of things. If there's any conditions in there, conditions that are for your benefit if you're buying, and if you're selling, usually there aren't any conditions. So we receive the contract after it's been negotiated, and then we have to make sure that we're able to transfer that property from the seller to the purchaser, depending on which side we're on. So we have to, whether we're acting for the vendor or the purchaser, we have to do search the title. The title is it's not a piece of paper anymore. It's held at the land titles office downtown, but it's a document. And that document shows who the legal owner of that property is. So if we're acting for the buyer, we make sure that the person who's selling you the property under the contract is in fact the people that are entitled, that are allowed to sell that to you. We also make sure that there aren't any registrations on title that could be a problem. If the vendor owes money to, for example, Canada Revenue Agencies, we want to know that that's there, and we want to make sure that the vendor pays off his or her debt to CRA so that you don't inherit that type of problem. We make sure that the cash exchanges hands and that the keys exchanges hands, and that no one can take it or use those, whether it's the money or the keys, until all of their obligations under the contract are met. Now, once that work is done, our job is done. We've transferred the title, we've made sure that your obligations under the contract were met, we're done. If there are problems afterwards, such as there's some there's some faults, for example, in the basement, or the appliances aren't working properly and the vendor had made a representation that they would, well, that becomes more of a litigation problem or a dispute resolution problem, and we can help you with that as well, but that's a separate legal issue than actually transferring the title. So our job when we're doing transactions like that is just to make sure that your obligations under the contract are met. We cannot renegotiate the contract on your behalf. A contract's a contract. We just take our marching orders from the piece of paper that's given to us.